Renault is all set to launch its Kwid in October. We have its review. It's shaped like a battle tank and it's ready for launch. The Mahindra TUV300 is here. How to finance a used car. We've got all the tips for you. And another SUV. This one's the full-sizer from Chevy, the Trailblazer. That time of the week when you get to see and be with us here on the NDTV network. Thanks for joining us. I'm Siddharth Vinayak Partnkar. We've got an action-packed episode, as you've seen. All these cars that many of you have been curious about, they're all ready and ripe for the picking, and we've got them all for you. It's a bit of an SUV theme, if you will, because even the Renault Kwid, well, the overall styling seems inspired from an SUV. But let's start off with the Mahindra TUV300. It is an all-new car because it comes on an all-new platform that, of course, it shares with the new Scorpio as well. But there's more to it except its boxy design. It's also a completely different kind of car from Mahindra for the first time, where it seriously gets into the compact SUV space with a credible product. Let's take a look at it.
It is not a chopped-up MUV, it isn't derided from an existing model, it is a proper SUV and yet a subcompact one. That's the new TUV300 from M&M. The ground clearance of the TUV300 is 10 mm higher than the Scorpio's as it stands at 190 mm, which adds to its credentials of being an SUV. Step inside and you're greeted to something that you've never expected before. The quality of the interiors is even better than what we saw in the cars like the Scorpio or even the XUV500. The two-toned black and beige dash is easy on the eyes, hence comforting, and you might be tricked into thinking that there's use of soft-touch plastic on the dash, but it isn't. Even the cushioned armrests and grab handles look quite classy, and that's a big leap for Mahindra. Great plastics quality and a refined design as well. And yes, since it has the same wheelbase as the Scorpios at 2680 mm, Mahindra is offering it with a 7-seat configuration. Well, that's with jump seats at the back though, not a proper third row. The cabin sports several cubby holes, bottle holders in each door, and there are cup holders between the front seats. And there's more.
There are the usual features that the Mahindra TUV300 gets. So there's Bluetooth, there's auxiliary input, and there is USB. But on the safety front, it fails to get ABS or airbags in the T4 and the T6 variant. Mahindra says that it has a toughened steel body shell that helps in basically handling high and low speed collisions. Now that is quite a stance.
However, both these safety features have been provided as paid options and on the T4 Plus and the T6 Plus variants as well, which means anyone buying them can still opt for the safety pack. Great! There's no CD player though, but the in-house integrated audio system with a monotone 4-inch screen is quite good too. When you turn the key though, there is someone in the dash who greets you.
Welcome to your tough and stylish TUV300.
Yes, it takes you by surprise, and this voice pops up if a door of the car is not closed properly or if you haven't worn your seatbelt. So there's no longer a beep but a simulated instruction.
Do wear your seatbelts for a safe drive.
The engine is Mahindra's M-Hawk 80, which is a 1.5-litre 3-cylinder diesel engine which borrows from two worlds, Quanto's 1.5-litre and the Scorpio's 2.2-litre unit. Power output stands at 84 bhp, and though that might sound less, it's the twin-scroll turbocharger and dual-mass flywheel that makes a lot of difference in the way that the car drives. Yet the lack of power is evident as it runs out of breath after the 3500 RPM mark. Mahindra has also given the TUV300 the stop-start system only on the T8 variant. There are two separate Eco models as well, one for the powertrain and one for the aircon. Switch it to Eco mode and it dulls the performance of the car. Top speed automatically limited to 120 km per hour and the rev counter doesn't move beyond 3500 RPM. But this does have a significant effect on the fuel efficiency figure, and that stands at 18.49 km to the litre. But the big news is the automated manual transmission that the TUV300 gets, and though we drove the one with the 5-speed manual gearbox, we can't wait to try this one out because it's the first SUV to get it. So, long story short, Mahindra has come a long way with the TUV300 and it is an SUV in the true sense of the term. It looks the part and it feels the part. Well, it doesn't come with the option of a 4x4, but so what? We give credit where it's due and Mahindra deserves it.
Now, I still think that the TUV300 could have been a nicer looking car. It could have been a more attractive design while still being butch. But the good part is that it's very distinct. It's not curvaceous and pretty like some of the other SUVs. So at least it has its own identity. As far as the name goes, I have to say it's going to take me a while because I still think Bolero was the right way to go. Too bad. It is TUV300 and I've got to get used to it. Now, let's talk about the Renault Kwid. It's the first time in a long time that someone's really going to challenge Maruti again in the space where it dominates, entry hatchback. The Kwid, though, seems to have more to it than simply what typically entry hatchbacks have. It's a lot roomier and it's got that little baby duster kind of styling going on. Dhruv Behel drove it for us. Here's the review. Carlos Ghosn unveiled the car in May and promised that it would be priced under 4 lakh rupees. The Kwid is based on the all-new CMF-A platform on which Renault and Nissan will build a slew of new compact cars globally. The Kwid is the first of many then. The Kwid comes after a long and hard journey which saw Renault talking ultra-low-cost car, toying with alliances with Bajaj and Ashok Leyland, and learning from the development and relaunch of Datsun products. The Kwid certainly makes an impact. The SUV-like stance gives it presence, though the wheels look a tad small for those big arches. It certainly looks bigger, wider and taller than its rivals though. And it is. The Kwid's overall length, width and wheelbase is best in class. Renault has gone after the only thing entry hatches don't always have, space. And it's done it well. Renault has a few tricks up its sleeve on the inside as well. The digital instrument cluster is very clear and straightforward. It doesn't have a tachometer though, but a gear shift indicator instead. The shift indicator could have been a little larger though. But again, the digital instrument cluster is anyway a point of differentiation from the competition.
So you've also got a bunch of cubby holes and glove boxes. So there's a glove box up here, one down here, and a bunch of storage spaces in the cabin. But there are a couple of areas in which you sense that they have done a little bit of cost cutting. So you've got the window controls in the center console. You don't have controls for the side view mirrors in the cabin. And on the outside, you notice a couple of things, like you've only got one windshield wiper and only 3 wheel nuts on each wheel.
As you start up the engine, you do notice that the idle is a little lumpy. But that's to be expected from an 800cc 3-cylinder motor. On the go, however, refinement levels are very good. It does, after all, have 4 valves per cylinder, so it doesn't have any of the 3-cylinder thrum or vibration at speed. Now, Renault cars have always been known for their ride and handling prowess, and the Kwid carries forward that legacy with elan. On rough roads and even off-road, the Kwid is very comfortable and handles very well. The claimed 25.17 kilometers per litre fuel efficiency will give it the highest mileage of any petrol engine car in the country. But that also has a lot to do with its low weight.
So this car is based on a brand new architecture from Renault. And the way they've been able to build it to a price is one, because it has 98% localization. In fact, 80% of the work done on this car is done by Indian engineers. So there's a lot of Indian content in this machine. And it's actually pretty sprightly going down the road. And the main reason for that is that it weighs only 660 kilos. So it's incredibly light. Now they say they've done that by basically engineering every single nut and bolt in this machine anew. So it's been engineered completely from scratch, from the ground up, and they've engineered it to be as light as possible.
The 5-speed manual gearbox is nice and responsive, but downshifts aren't as smooth as we expected, especially while driving it on the highway. Also, if you're looking to compare specs with Maruti Suzuki's stable, both the Celerio and the Alto K10 have the option of an AMT gearbox. Renault hasn't shared any plans on getting an AMT variant on the Kwid. What about safety then, you ask? Well, the standard answer is that it meets all safety requirements in the country for now, and that's pretty much a negligible requirement. But this is a car that's been designed for the world market, so it's been engineered from the start to meet all safety regulations in markets such as Brazil and even Europe. That will of course mean adding some weight back into the vehicle, but the basic structure will stay the same. In India, only the top-end variant has a single driver side airbag, no dual airbags at all, and no ABS. But then the rivals don't do much better on safety gear. On the whole though, what Renault has been able to do with the Kwid is provide an aspirational vehicle to the small car space, and not to forget it's offering 60 categories of accessories, 6 predefined accessory packages, a whole lot of decals as well that you can style and customize your car with, and you can choose one of 5 body colors. Renault is now up to 205 dealerships in India. That's no match for Maruti's network, but it's still a good reach now, including in rural and semi-urban areas where Renault sees big potential for the Kwid. The TUV from Mahindra and the new Kwid from Renault. React to both those cars. Would love to have your feedback. Let's take a short break here on CNB. We have the Trailblazer and more coming up. An exclusive chance to be among the first to drive this. One of the most exciting new cars worldwide. One that defines new boundaries on Scandinavian design for Volvo and for SUV interiors for the industry. The Volvo XC90 is now here, and you can join CNB on its first India drive. Simply tweet me why I should pick you for the drive at Sid Patankar. Don't forget to add the hashtag XC90 on CNB. Welcome back. Let's get on with the Chevy Trailblazer right away. It's after a really long time that we have something new from General Motors in the market, and also after a really long time that there's an all-new full-size SUV driving in. Now, of course, the Toyota Fortuner rules this space. We all know this, but some really credible rivals that are already here, like the Pajero Sport from Mitsubishi, and there's also the new generation of the Ford Endeavour that we showed you a few weeks ago, and indeed the new generation of the Fortuner itself that's all set to launch early next year. So it's not perhaps the best time then for Chevrolet to bring in the Trailblazer, but having said that, there's still enough on this car for it to stand up to those rivals. Take a look. Everyone wants an SUV these days. And while the compacts are gaining ground, the traditional full-size SUV remains most aspirational. It has been a while since we got a new full-sizer. The Hyundai Santa Fe was the last one. But the space is ruled by the Toyota Fortuner, and perhaps the Mitsubishi Pajero Sport to some extent. There is lots in the pipeline though, the next generation of both the Ford Endeavour and the Toyota Fortuner, and then there is this. The Chevrolet Trailblazer. The big, heavy and rugged SUV from the General Motors stable will be launched in India in October. The Trailblazer is available in 2 diesels and 1 petrol engine globally, but in India we'll get just the 2.8-litre diesel and, surprise, surprise, just 1 trim variant. The car looks simple and not very aggressive. Also, at some point, it does remind you of the car that it's replacing, the Captiva. Though we have to say that the Captiva was prettier. At the rear, the car looks a bit like the Fortuner, so overall the Trailblazer seems to lack the wow factor on looks, like, let's say, the Hyundai Santa Fe. But it looks contemporary and it looks big. That is important in this segment, isn't it? The Trailblazer sits tall though, and so an advantage over the rivals is ground clearance, which is higher than that of the Fortuner. The car is powered by GM's 2.8-litre Duramax diesel engine. India will not get the lighter 2.5 diesel or the 3.6 petrol V6 as we said, and we'll also miss out on the all-wheel drive option. So the 2.8 diesel punches out a solid 200 bhp, and it's mated to a 6-speed automatic gearbox that sends power to the rear wheels. The car can at times feel a bit underpowered when compared to the Fortuner, but then the Fortuner gets a larger 3-litre engine, don't forget, so we're not complaining too much. Power delivery and initial gear shifts are smooth, but at higher speeds you'll feel the need for quicker gear shifts, and the engine's growl will start to get to you. The steering is responsive, and you do find it's got a sporty side when driving down winding roads, where despite its bulk, the car manages decent grip with minimal body roll. The Trailblazer has dual front airbags, ABS with EBD, hill start assist, traction control and hill descent control. The car's interiors are well laid out and the cabin is nice and wide. The black and beige treatment is a bit overused these days, but it still gives the car that premium feel that one would want when shopping at this price point. There's a Corvette-inspired 3-spoke sports steering wheel with buttons for audio and cruise control. The square instrument cluster with sunk-in dials also gives the car a slightly sporty look. AC vents are well placed, and between those vents there's the 7-inch MyLink touchscreen infotainment system with a smartphone app link. But sadly there's no navigation system, which is a miss in this space since SUVs are often used for long trips, aren't they? You do get a reverse camera with audible park assist. Plastics overall could have been better though, especially on the power window switches. The piano black central console has a round climate control dial, which is kind of attractive though. The second row is comfortable. Rear AC vents are placed on the roof of the car, and that doesn't compromise the ample headroom that the Trailblazer sports. With the width of the car being more than that of the Toyota Fortuner, there is a good amount of shoulder room too, and it's also good to see GM India working on small things like cup holders. You get one for every seat. The car is expected to be priced at 25 lakh rupees, and like we said, it'll go on sale by the end of October. We would like to see Chevrolet price the Trailblazer aggressively, especially since this is the comeback car for GM in many ways.
Car companies have sections like Maruti True Value, Mahindra First Choice, Hyundai Advantage and Toyota You Trust, from where you can buy reliable and checked up second-hand cars. They also provide financing for them, either themselves or through banks like HDFC, Kotak Mahindra, SBI and NBFCs like Tata Capital. These companies prefer giving loans if you're dealing through an authorized dealer. However, you can approach them directly for loans as well, but be prepared. The age of the car is crucial in deciding the loan amount and tenure. Most lenders will not finance a car where the age of the car and the loan tenure exceeds 7 years. A valuation expert will also check the car, and based on the condition, accident-free history and car model, the percentage of loan amount to be dispensed is decided. Interest rates for used car loans are also a bit higher and also depend on your profile. They are usually between 14 to 16%.
Time to say goodbye here on CNB. We will be back next week with plenty more. Plenty on the show today for you to react to as well, and always write in with anything you want to see. I will see you next week. Please wear your seatbelts. Please wear your helmets. Bye-bye.